Alright, hey. Welcome back. I'm gonna be talking about the truth about Christianity in this video, so. But first I want to to explain two things. One of them ain't really a big deal. It's just I thought it was funny, and the other thing is you can find my social medias, the links to my social media pages in the description below. It's not really an important thing that I mention that in every video, but I figured might as well, because I have some interesting stuff on there. If you like the stuff I do here, you'll like the stuff I do there, because I post guitar riffs on there too, and there's different stuff. But yeah, truth of Christianity. Oh yeah, no, I gotta explain the other thing first. I forgot there. Yesterday and the day before, so like the past 2 or 3 days, I've been in my videos. I was like incredibly hyperactive and talking very loud and fast, and you probably couldn't keep up with me at all. And the reason is I have really, really bad insomnia. If you didn't know, you probably didn't, but so now you know. But I was trying to keep my energy up because I was like, shit. I felt like I hadn't slept in like the past 2 days. I was wanting to. I slept like an hour a night for the past 2 days, and I was like, God damn. I was like, I want to go to sleep so bad, but I have to put these videos up. And I said, well, what do I do? And I said, aha, I'll drink like 6 Coca-Colas. And because we didn't have any coffee, and I had to get caffeine from somewhere, and I was on like a sugar and caffeine high for like fucking 6 hours. For like every day for like, dude, because when I don't sleep good, I try to find a way to keep myself awake so I don't get my sleep schedule out of whack. I've done that before, and I've literally been nocturnal for like a period of a month one time. So I don't want to do that again, so I just drink caffeine instead. But I hadn't done that today. I drank like 1 Diet Dr. Pepper, and yeah, that was earlier this morning, so it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon now, so. Well, yeah, now it's 12. But I slept pretty good last night, so I didn't need any caffeine today anyway, so yeah, I'm fine now, so you could probably keep up with what I'm saying today. But anyway, I wanted to talk about the truth of Christianity, as I previously said. And, what is the truth of Christianity? To understand what Christianity is, we have to look back to when it was created 2,000 something years ago, and what it originally was made for was a system of laws. So like you had back in the day, there was a lot of there were problems with governments being able to control their citizens, and so Christianity came along. It spawned off of Judaism, which was an actual spiritual system, but it got more legalistic as time went on, and then Christianity came out of that and was even more legalistic and had all these moral rules you had to follow, these commandments and these laws and things you had to follow, and they said, well, and it hijacked the human survival mechanism and said, if you don't follow this, you go to hell. And at the time, it was created with good intention, but it wasn't. I take that back. At the time, I was thinking about Judaism. At the time, well, Judaism just it was a legitimate spiritual thing, so, whatever. But, Christianity was a spin-off of, like, Judaism, and it was created for awful intentions. It was created to keep people in line, but through the worst possible means. And they had a bunch of radicals that were Christians and ended up writing books for the Bible. So a lot of these radicals wrote books in the Bible and just wrote horrible things down, like in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1, where it says to stone gay people to death, as if gay people ever did anything wrong. I mean, I would know, I date plenty of guys, so I mean, I would know. But it really did more damage than it ever did good, and is one of the bloodiest ideologies that has ever been, next to Islam, which they're both Abrahamic religions. But and Islam, spawned off of Christianity. So Christianity was the first that sort of started the whole thing. So it's next to communism is one of the bloodiest ideologies that's ever been created by mankind. Killed millions of people over the years. Actually created the Dark Ages. You know why it created the Dark Ages? Because it caused the fall of the Roman Empire. Paganism built the Roman Empire and just caused it to be utterly prosperous. And then here comes these fucking Christians. Run the entire empire into the ground. And just... it was awful. It was utterly awful. Ran them into the ground, caused all kinds of problems, and killed all the pagans too. And then they had all these doctors that they killed. They killed anybody that knew anything about anything. Anyone that was deemed as having any kind of level of intelligence other than being utterly retarded. If you had an IQ over 2, you were killed violently. They'd quarter you, they'd torture you to death, drag you through the street till your hide peeled off. Guillotine. I mean, well, before the guillotine, but you know what I mean. They did do all kinds of awful stuff to you. Burn you alive at the stake was one thing they did a lot. You'd get your property destroyed. And one of the most famous things that happened that the Christians did, and a lot of people don't know that the Christians did this, is they burned the Library of Alexandria and stole all the documents within it. Burned a lot of them and kept a lot of them for themselves and hid them away so that nobody else could read them. And when the Library of Alexandria was burned, I mean, you got to think, I can't remember exactly how many scrolls were held within it, but some of the most valuable knowledge in the world was held within that library. It was pretty much the ancient equivalent of the internet. Everything you could ever want to look for was in there. There was knowledge of ancient language that came far before the Roman Empire in there. There was all kinds of anything the Greek philosophers ever dreamed up was in there. All these inventions that Archimedes wanted to create, they were in there, waiting to be built somewhere by some guy that would one day read them, but they would never get to because the fucking Christians destroyed everything. We quite literally could have entered the Industrial Revolution in ancient Rome, and everybody today could be speaking Latin. I kid you not. We could still be living in the Roman Empire, but under an industrial revolutionized thing. We could be on other planets right now if it wasn't for the Christians burning the Library of Alexandria. Now, there wasn't spaceship knowledge in that library. That's not what I'm saying, but somebody could have come along, and some genius could have came along and took that technology, the knowledge of it that was in there, built off of it, and created their own new inventions. And the Romans were already about 10 to 15 years away from having their industrial revolution anyway. A lot of people don't know that, but they were about 15 years away from having theirs anyway. And here comes the Christians. Killed pagans, stoned them to death, beat them to death, raped their wives, and genital raped them. It was all genitalia. What do they call it? Genital dismemberment or whatever. Mutilation, genital mutilation. Genitalia mutilation was a huge problem, still is. But their wives got their crap mutilated. So did men. I mean, it was bad news. And many scientists and philosophers, all of them actually were killed. Doctors that had any medical knowledge at all were just killed in the streets. And Library of Alexandria was burned, and that was kind of history. That was sort of it for the Roman Empire. And then when the Roman Empire collapsed, the Christians initiated all their laws, all their moral rules and everything. And they said, okay, we are the leaders now. And guess what they caused? The fucking Dark Ages. It wasn't until the 1600s, like 600, 700 years later, that we came out of the Dark Ages. And it was because of, the reason we came out of the Dark Ages is because of the invention of the printing press in Italy. So, yeah. And then that caused a widespread, it caused more availability of things like pagan texts, which a lot of people wrote, which a lot of people copied, should I say. They copied over ancient texts and also created their new ones, and a lot of people read those, and the word got out about it, and then somebody bought a printing press and made their own copy of it and sold it. And it got the word out about other things other than Christianity, which caused it to sort of have a semi-collapse there for, about 100 to 200 years or so. It sort of lost a lot of power from then on out, but until the 1800s and stuff comes around, as far as I know. Well, there are many areas of the world were Christianized, even still. I'm just saying within like that area of Italy. But within that area of the world at the time. But most of Europe was still heavily Christianized then too. It was just sort of an Italy thing. But you see what that's ancient examples, and you're probably thinking, well, what has it done to us today that's so bad? What Christianity has done today is absolutely horrendous. It's the same shit it's been doing back then, except without all the heavy-handed violence. It's mostly just legislative. They want to force your life in a certain direction through a legislature rather than with the sword, which is equally as bad. You know, I'd rather you just kill me than force me to live your lifestyle for the rest of my life and be utterly miserable. You know, I'd rather a Christian come up to me and say, you're going to do this, that, and the other thing. You know, you're never going to date dudes again. You're never going to fucking listen to heavy metal again. You're never going to do anything because it's the devil, and I'd just go, fuck you, and they'd stab me in the head. I'd rather have that happen than be told, well, you're going to do this, that, and the other thing, and because it's against the law to kill you, we're just going to legislate it instead and force you to live that way. How about that? I think I'd rather have, number one, actually I'd rather have neither. But if you came down to it and you had to do one or the other, I'd do choice A any day of the week. But what you see is what it's done today in the modern era, and I'm going to use America as an example. Excuse me, I got the hiccup slightly for some reason. But look at the 1950s. You know, the nifty 50s, so-called. Really, it was the shitty 50s. I know that didn't rhyme, but it didn't have to. You get the point. The 50s, if you look, men were, I mean, you can watch movies about this. I mean, you can see it in the movies, too, and you say, oh, well, that's just acting. Well, go look up some old videos from the 50s, too, like family home videos or something like that, which there's very few of. But you know what I mean. Just look up videos from the 50s and you'll see it. Like, all men acted incredibly macho. All women acted incredibly feminine. And, like, the little boys were dressed like little engineers or something. They look like, you know what I mean? They look like, it was like one giant stereotype society. None of the white men ever talked to the black men, or, none of the women talked to them either. And the black men never talked to the white men, and if you were gay, you were sent to forceful conversion therapy, which is pretty much mental torture for any gay person. God forbid you were, what today, transgender people, God forbid you were trying to be trans back then. God forbid you had gender dysphoria, which, by the way, I have to a certain level, to a certain degree. So, if I was living in the 50s, I'd be pretty well fucked, Not literally, but metaphorically, well, literally in another way, in the violent way. They'd cut my head off, or they'd do something. In the 50s, if you were trans, they'd put you in a psych ward is what they'd do. Not cut your head off. They'd put you in a psych ward, which is pretty much the modern equivalent of cutting your head off, because it was worse than having your head cut off. You get your head cut off, you live for 15 more seconds, and then you die. If you get thrown in a psych ward and you're not actually insane, what happens is you go nuts, because you have total isolation from anyone, and you're in this locked in this building with a bunch of psychos that they can't even think straight because they're so crazy. And meanwhile, you're just a normal, well-meaning person, but because you got a brain deformity, wrong brain in the wrong body sort of thing, you're thrown in prison because you're thrown in the psych ward because nobody wants to understand you in so-called sane society. And who caused all this? Oh, the Christians did. Because it's obvious they did, because look at the people that were making these laws that were causing these things to happen. Oh, that's right. It was Southern Democrats, wasn't it? Southern Democrats. It was people like it was like the Dixiecrats. It was people like what was the man's name? Jim Crow. People like Jim Crow and the others. There's another guy that I can't think of right off the top of my head. They wanted pretty much a theocracy, and Christians still do to this day. I've talked to Baptists around here, Southern Baptists and Primitive Baptists. You go to their churches, there's some around here, the Wilkinson County area, and they'll talk about stuff like, oh, we need to just, America's Satan, it's evil, it's Satan, you know, and they're not talking about our pro-war, a lot of our politicians' pro-war sentiments. They're all for war. They say, oh, we need to kill anybody that's not Christian in these other countries. And if you ask them, well, what about our own people? They'll say, oh, well, if they're not Christian, they need to be forced into it, or forced into converting, or something like that, through some not so heavy-handed means. But they need to be forced, and they need to be told how to think. You know, we need to do the thinking for them. And these people are nuts. They're absolutely crazy. So what they want is a theocracy. And that's what they've always wanted since Christianity was created. It's an awful, really is. It's like the worst, it's the bloodiest ideology next to that of communism that mankind has ever created. It's shit. And it doesn't work because it oppresses too many people and treats too many people like shit other than Christians. Which are a lot of people that aren't Christians. So if you're not a Christian, guess what, son? You get treated like shit. Yeah, come to Georgia. Yeah, come to Georgia and try to be openly gay. Yo, you'll get your face stomped in by some guy going up the road. I know in my previous video I said, you know, who cares if you're gay? You know, one of them, I can't remember which one. I said, like, who cares, you know, if you're black or whatever. I'll tell you, the only place I know of where people actually care, and that's Georgia. Middle Georgia, in small town Georgia. Yeah, you come here, in Wyoming too, but you come, well, anywhere in the South, really, and some places out in the Midwest. But yeah, come to Georgia, and if you want to be openly gay, you get your face stomped in by a lot of the rednecks here. There's no legislative thing holding you back from being gay, but I mean, like, as far as the culture of Georgia goes, the hicks around here, you'll be walking up the road in Gordon, Georgia, in Wilkinson County, and all of a sudden here comes a hick fascist. He's going to come kick your face in because you're committing faggotry against Jesus, sort of thing. The people here are nuts, and they're all Christians. Isn't that something? I wonder why they're insane. Don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure it out. But, I mean, if you need more proof that Christians are nuts and they just want to do harm to people, go look at a lot of the flat earthers. Most of them are Christians. You know, go look at a lot of people that, just go look at the weird side of YouTube and look up a lot of this crazy shit that people say, and a lot of it's coming from Christians too. It's insane. It is insane. So, I'll probably do a part 2 to this, but I got to get this uploaded for my camera, for my phone cuts me off. So, yeah, I'll see you in part 2 of this one. So, because there's a lot more stuff to talk about, and I had to like sort of cut a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about out because, you know, and simplify it down to a certain degree to get it on here. So, yeah, I'll do a part 2. I'll see you there.